My entire family poisoned my daughter against me so that she could have a positive image of her mother after we divorced. But 8 years after being the villain, when my daughter reaches out to me as an adult, demanding an answer as to why I wasn't involved, I sat her down and told her the horrible reality about her mother. Now her mom won't stop calling me because my daughter is dragging her to court. The divorce happened when she was 11. My ex got full custody and I got every other weekend, except those weekends never actually happened. First month, she forgot 3 times. Second month, my daughter was suddenly sick every visit. By month 4, my ex stopped answering my calls entirely. I kept paying child support on time every single month for 8 years, down $200 without fail. Even when I could barely afford groceries, I kept trying to see my daughter, but my ex had turned my own parents against me. They believed every lie she told them. My daughter's 13th birthday. I drove 4 hours to surprise her at school, brought cupcakes for her whole class. The principal called security on me because my ex had told the school I was dangerous. I had to explain to 2 cops that I just wanted to give my kid cupcakes. They let me go, but the damage was done. After that, I sent cards and letters to my parents' house, hoping they'd pass them along. Never got a single response. For her 16th birthday, I sent $500 to help with her first car. The check was never cashed. I found out later my ex told everyone I'd abandoned her completely. Last month, there's a knock on my door at 9:00 p.m. I open it and there's my daughter, 20 years old now. I barely recognized her. She didn't even say hello, just pushed past me into my living room and said, "We need to talk." She was shaking with anger. "Where were you?" she said. "I had nobody. You just left." I told her to sit down, went to my closet and pulled out a cardboard box I'd been keeping, handed it to her without saying anything. She opened it. On top were 47 birthday cards, still sealed in their envelopes, all returned to sender. Underneath were letters I'd written every month for 5 years, also returned. Then court documents showing every custody violation, every missed visitation, every call that went unanswered. Her hands started shaking as she dug deeper. Text message screenshots where my ex told my parents to block my number. Emails where my ex threatened to file a restraining order if I kept trying to contact them. Police reports my ex had filed claiming I was stalking her, all dismissed as false, but she'd never told anyone that part. Then she found the financial records. My ex had told everyone, including my daughter, that I never paid child support, that we were struggling because I was a deadbeat. I watched my daughter's face as she read through 8 years of bank statements, $1,200 every single month, never late, never missed. But the college fund was what broke her. My ex had told my daughter I refused to help with college, that she'd have to take out loans because I didn't care about her education. My daughter pulled out the statements. I'd opened the account the day she was born. By the time of the divorce, there was $12,000 in it. Over the next 10 years, I deposited another $43,000. Every bonus, every tax refund, every extra shift I worked. The current balance was $340. My daughter looked at me with tears streaming down her face. "Where did it go?" she whispered. I pulled out the withdrawal records. Bahamas vacation, new car, kitchen renovation, designer handbags. My ex had been draining it for years while telling my daughter the account didn't exist. She sat there staring at the papers for 20 minutes, not saying anything. Then she stood up, took the entire box, and walked out. Didn't say goodbye. 3 days later, my phone rang at 6:00 a.m. It was my ex screaming, completely panicked. "Our daughter's been visiting everyone, your parents, your sister, our old neighbors, apologizing to them for me." I could hear confusion mixed with fear. "She went to your mother and said, 'I'm sorry my mom made you choose.' Spent 3 hours there showing them everything." My throat got tight. "But she's not done. She just posted our address on some parent alienation forum. Said anyone who wants to see proof of what alienation looks like can come by my house tomorrow at noon." My ex's voice cracked. "She's organizing a gathering, here, at my house. Invited your entire family, all our old friends, everyone I lied to. She rented chairs, ordered food, printed packets of evidence for each person." I heard papers rustling frantically. I just looked outside. There are cars already parking. It's only 11 a.m. and people are arriving early. She's standing on my front lawn directing them where to go like she's hosting a fucking seminar on my lies. I hung up and drove straight there. The whole way my hands were shaking on the steering wheel. I kept thinking about what my daughter was about to do, about all those people seeing the truth for the first time. Part of me wanted to stop her, to tell her this wasn't the way. But the bigger part of me, the part that had been silent for 8 years, wanted everyone to know. When I pulled up to my ex-wife's house, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. 30 people, maybe more, sitting in folding chairs arranged in neat rows across the front lawn. My daughter had set up a table with boxes of documents organized like she was running a corporate presentation. There was a poster board behind her with a timeline printed on it. She'd even brought a portable speaker system. My parents were in the front row. My dad looked confused, like he wasn't sure why he was there. My mom kept glancing at the front door of the house, probably hoping my ex would come out and explain this was all a misunderstanding. My sister was 3 rows back with her husband, our old neighbors from when we were married, people from my ex's church, even my ex's boss from the hospital where she worked. My daughter saw me pull up and park across the street, but she didn't wave or acknowledge me. She just checked her watch, took a breath, and started talking. "Thank you all for coming," she said. Her voice was steady, louder than I expected. "I know this is unusual. I know some of you are confused about why you're here. I'm going to show you what my mother did to my father, to me, and to all of you." She held up the first document, a piece of paper I recognized even from across the street. "This is a text message my mother sent to my grandmother in January 2017. In it, she says my father refused to pay child support and that we were struggling to buy groceries." She turned it around so everyone could see the screenshot blown up to poster size. "This is the bank statement from that same month showing my father paid $1,200 on January 3rd, 5 days before she sent that text." I heard someone in the crowd make a small noise, like a gasp. My daughter didn't pause. She pulled out another document. "This is an email my mother sent to my aunt in March 2017. She told her my father was dangerous, that he'd made threats, that she was afraid for my safety." She held up another page. "This is the police report from that same week. The officers investigated the claims, found them to be false, and noted in their official report that the allegations appeared to be fabricated." My ex-wife's front door flew open so hard it slammed against the side of the house. She came running out wearing sweatpants and an old t-shirt, her hair tangled like she'd just woken up. Her face was red, whether from anger or embarrassment I couldn't tell. "Stop this right now," she screamed, running toward the table. "You're humiliating me in front of everyone. These are private matters." My daughter didn't even flinch. She just kept going like her mother hadn't said anything. "This is the college fund my father opened the day I was born. Over 20 years, he deposited $55,000 into this account. Every birthday, every Christmas, every overtime shift he worked." She held up another paper. "This is the current balance as of last week, $340. My ex tried to grab the box off the table. "You have no right to." My daughter yanked it away and held it against her chest. "No right? You told everyone he abandoned me. You made me hate him for 8 years. There's nothing private about your lies anymore." People in the crowd were shifting in their seats now, looking at each other, looking at my ex-wife standing there in her sweatpants. I saw my mom lean over and whisper something to my dad. Then my mom stood up. She's small, barely 5'3", but when she stood up, everyone went quiet. She looked at my ex-wife, and I'd never seen that expression on my mother's face before. It was like disgust and heartbreak mixed together. "You told me he was violent," my mom said. Her voice was quiet, but somehow everyone heard it. "You told me he threatened you and my granddaughter. You said if I stayed in contact with him, you'd have to keep her away from me for safety reasons." My ex opened her mouth, but nothing came out. "I haven't spoken to my son in 6 years because of you," my mom continued. "I chose you. I believed you. I told him he was a monster and that I never wanted to see him again." The crowd was dead silent. I could hear birds chirping in the tree behind the house. Someone's phone buzzed and they frantically silenced it. My ex looked around at all the faces staring at her, her boss, her neighbors, people she saw at church every Sunday, and something inside her just broke. "You don't know what I had to do to survive," she shouted. "None of you know what it was like. You don't understand." That word hit me like a punch. Survive. I got out of my car and walked across the street. Everyone turned to look at me, but I kept my eyes on my ex. "Survive what?" I said. "I paid you $200 every month for 8 years. You had full custody, you got the house, you got everything. What exactly were you surviving?" Her mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. She looked like a fish drowning in air. My daughter was staring at her mother with this cold, analytical expression. "Yeah, Mom. Survive what? We were never struggling financially. You went to the Bahamas 3 times. You bought a Lexus. What were you surviving?" My ex's eyes darted between me, my daughter, and the crowd. Then she just turned and ran back into the house. The door slammed so hard I heard something rattle inside. Nobody said anything for a moment. Then people started standing up, gathering their packets, talking in low voices. My mother came over to me and wrapped her arms around me and started crying into my chest. My sister was right behind her. People I hadn't seen in years were coming up to me, apologizing, saying they had no idea, asking why I never said anything. But my daughter didn't come over. She just packed up her table, folded the chairs, and loaded everything into her car. When she was done, she drove away without saying a word to me. I went home and sat in my apartment trying to process what had just happened. My phone kept buzzing with messages from relatives I hadn't heard from in years, but I couldn't bring myself to read them yet. 2 days later, my daughter showed up at my door again. It was early, maybe 7 in the morning. I was still in my bathrobe making coffee when I heard the knock. She walked in without waiting for an invitation and sat down at my kitchen table. "I need every financial record you have from the last 8 years," she said. "No good morning, No, how are you doing? Just straight to business. Bank statements, receipts, emails, canceled checks, everything. I went to my spare room where I kept all my files. I'd saved everything, every scrap of paper related to child support and custody. Part of me always thought maybe one day someone would ask for proof and I'd need it. I brought out 3 cardboard file boxes and set them on the table. My daughter started going through them methodically, making notes on her phone, taking pictures of certain documents. She worked for almost 2 hours without saying much. Then she stopped on one set of papers and her whole body went rigid. "What is this?" she asked, holding up a bank statement. Her finger was pointing at a line item. "You were paying an extra $300 a month starting in 2017. It says essential medical treatment. What's that for?" I sat down across from her. "Your mother called me about 6 months after the divorce. She said you'd been diagnosed with a condition and that you needed ongoing treatment that insurance wouldn't cover. She said if I didn't help pay for it, you'd suffer." My daughter's face had gone completely pale. "What condition?" "She never gave me specific details," I said. "Just that it was serious and that you needed specialized help. She said if I really cared about you, I wouldn't question it." My daughter set the paper down on the table very carefully, like it might explode. "Dad, I've never had any medical condition. I've never been to a specialist in my life. I had strep throat twice and broke my arm when I was 14. That's it." I felt something cold spread through my chest. "She told me—" "I know what she told you," my daughter interrupted. She picked up her phone and opened the calculator app. Her fingers moved fast. $300 a month for 8 years is $28,800. The number hung in the air between us. "She knew exactly what to say," my daughter said quietly. "She knew you'd pay without asking questions if she made it about my health. That's not impulsive spending. That's not even regular stealing. That's planned, systematic fraud." She stood up and started pacing around my kitchen. "I need to make some calls. Can I use your spare room?" I nodded. She disappeared into the room and closed the door. I could hear her voice through the wall but couldn't make out the words. She was in there for over an hour. When she came out, she looked different somehow, focused in a way that was almost scary. "I called my bank and requested statements going back to when I turned 18 and got my own account," she said. "I also requested any accounts opened in my name before that. They're sending everything." That night, my ex-wife called my daughter. I know because my daughter was sitting on my couch when her phone rang, and she looked at the screen and said, "It's her." She answered and put it on speaker without asking if I wanted to hear. "Hi, Mom," my daughter said. Her voice was flat. "Baby, we need to talk," my ex said. She sounded different, softer, almost sweet. "I think we can work something out. I don't want this to come between us." "Work what out?" "I'll publicly admit I lied about your father abandoning you," my ex said. "I'll post on Facebook, I'll tell everyone I was wrong, and I'll pay back $12,000 of the college fund. That's a good portion of it, right? But you need to stop digging into all this other stuff. It's not healthy for you." My daughter looked at me, and I saw something dangerous in her eyes. "Where's the other $31,000? Silence on the other end of the line. I could hear my ex breathing. "What?" she finally said. "The college fund had $55,000 in it," my daughter said. Her voice was still completely calm. "You're offering to pay back 12. I'm asking where the other 43 is." More silence. Longer this time. I could almost hear my ex's brain working through the phone. I don't know the exact total off the top of my head," my ex stammered. "I'd have to look at—" "You just said 12,000, my daughter interrupted. "Specifically 12. I never told you the total amount that was in that account. I never told you how much was missing. You just revealed you know the precise number because you tracked every withdrawal deliberately." I heard my ex's breath catch. "You kept records," my daughter said. "You knew exactly how much you were taking and when. This wasn't impulsive. This wasn't you making desperate choices. You planned it." The line went dead. My ex had hung up. My daughter set her phone down on the coffee table and leaned back. She just confirmed it. She knows the numbers. The next morning, my daughter told me she was driving to visit her maternal grandmother. I offered to come with her, but she said no. She needed to do this alone. She came back 6 hours later looking exhausted. She sat down at my kitchen table and just put her head in her hands for a minute before talking. "Grandma admitted she's been lending Mom money for years," she said finally. $15,000 total. All because Mom told her you refused to provide support, that we were struggling." "Jesus," I muttered. "But that's not the worst part," my daughter continued. She looked up at me and her eyes were red like she'd been crying. "Grandma said the money was specifically for my therapy, for treatments my disability required." I felt my stomach drop. "What disability?" "Exactly," my daughter said. "Grandma described expensive ADHD treatment that insurance had supposedly denied. Special medications, behavioral therapy, private tutoring, all things I never received because I don't have ADHD. I've never even been tested for it." She pulled out her phone and showed me notes she'd typed. Grandma said Mom told her I was diagnosed at 12, that the doctors said it was severe and I needed intensive intervention, that you refused to help pay for it because you didn't believe in mental health treatment. "I never said that," I said. "I never knew about any of this." "I know," my daughter said. She was scrolling through something on her phone. I've been thinking about this all day. Mom told you I had a medical condition that needed treatment. She told Grandma I had ADHD. What if she told other people other things? She looked at me. What if she filed an actual claim somewhere? That's when she started digging into government databases. She spent the next 3 days basically living at my apartment, sleeping on the couch, eating takeout, and staring at her laptop for hours at a time. I tried to help, but she said she needed to do this herself, needed to understand the full scope of it. I made coffee and kept quiet. On the 3rd day, she stopped typing and her face went completely white. She stared at the screen for a full minute without moving. "Dad," she said quietly, "come here." I walked over and looked at her laptop. It was some kind of government benefits portal. There was a claim there, active status, with my daughter's name and social security number. Severe ADHD requiring ongoing treatment and support. Filed when she was 12 years old. Monthly benefit amount, $470. "How long has this been active?" I asked. She scrolled down. 9 years. "It's still active right now." I did the math in my head. "That's over $50,000. My daughter just nodded. She looked like she might throw up. "She used me," my daughter said. "She used my name, my identity, to commit fraud against the federal government." And then I understood. Everything clicked into place like the last piece of a puzzle I'd been staring at for 8 years. "That's why she needed me gone," I said out loud. "If I'd been involved in your life, I would have known." "Known what?" my daughter asked. "That you didn't have ADHD, that you weren't seeing doctors or going to therapy, that there were no treatments, no medications, nothing." I sat down because my legs felt weak. "If I'd been picking you up every other weekend, I would have asked about your appointments. I would have wanted to talk to your doctors. I would have noticed there was no disability at all." My daughter was staring at me. "The fraud only works if you're completely out of the picture." "She didn't push me away because she hated me," I said. "She pushed me away because I was a liability. As long as I was around, I could expose the whole thing by accident just by being a normal parent." We sat there in my apartment as the sun set outside, both of us trying to process what this meant. My ex-wife hadn't destroyed our relationship out of spite or bitterness. She'd destroyed it as a necessary component of a crime. That night, just after midnight, someone started pounding on my door. I looked through the peephole and saw my ex-wife standing there. She looked frantic, her hair a mess, mascara smeared under her eyes. I opened the door and she pushed past me into the apartment. My daughter came out of the spare room where she'd been sleeping. "We need to talk," my ex said. "Both of you, right now." "It's midnight," I said. "I don't care." She was pacing back and forth in my living room. "You don't understand what you're doing. You're going to ruin everything." My daughter crossed her arms. "Ruin what, exactly?" My ex spun around to face her. "You think you know everything now? You think you've figured it all out?" "I know you filed a fraudulent disability claim in my name," my daughter said calmly. "I know you've been collecting benefits for 9 years for a condition I don't have." My ex's face crumbled. She looked between us, and I could see her trying to figure out what to say, how to explain this in a way that would make it okay. Finally, she just broke. "I needed him gone," she shouted, pointing at me. "I needed you both to not ask questions." "Why?" my daughter asked. "Because you would have questioned why there were never any doctor appointments." The words came pouring out of my ex like she couldn't stop them. "You would have noticed there was no therapy, no medications, no treatment. Your father would have figured it out in 2 months if he'd been around." The apartment went completely silent. My ex was breathing hard, staring at my daughter like she was waiting for understanding that wasn't going to come. "So you destroyed my relationship with Dad to cover up fraud," my daughter said. It wasn't a question. My ex's eyes got desperate. "You don't know what it's like. After the divorce, I had nothing. You had $2,200 a month in child support," I interrupted. "You had the house. You had your job. What did you need?" "To survive," she shouted. "I did what I had to do to survive." There was that word again, but this time it sounded hollow. My daughter's hand was in the pocket of her sweatpants. I didn't know it then, but she was recording the whole thing. "The alienation had to start immediately," my ex continued. She was talking faster now, like a confession she couldn't hold back. "The same month I filed the claim. I researched how involved non-custodial parents typically are, and I realized I had to eliminate his access completely, or the whole thing would fall apart within weeks." My daughter's face showed nothing. "So you destroyed my childhood for $50,000. My ex looked at her like she'd been slapped. "It wasn't like that." "Then what was it like?" my daughter asked. My ex didn't answer. She just turned and walked out of my apartment. I heard her car start outside and drive away. My daughter pulled her phone out of her pocket and stopped the recording. "Got it," she said. Over the next week, my daughter became someone I barely recognized. She was focused, methodical, driven. She started tracking down people my ex had known during the divorce, people who might have information. She made lists. She created spreadsheets. She requested documents from banks, schools, hospitals. She filed Freedom of Information requests with government agencies. I asked her once if she was okay, if maybe she should slow down and process everything. She just looked at me and said, "I'll process it after I finish this." Finally, she told me she'd found someone. A woman named Ashley, who'd been my ex's close friend during the divorce. My daughter had tracked her down through Facebook and convinced her to meet. She drove 3 hours to meet Ashley at a coffee shop. I stayed home and waited. When she came back, she had a voice recording on her phone. She played it for me in my living room. It started with my daughter's voice. "Thanks for meeting with me. I know this is probably weird." "It's fine," Ashley's voice said. She sounded nervous. "I haven't talked to your mom in a few years, honestly. We had a falling out. I want to ask you about something that happened when I was 12, my daughter said. "My mom filed a disability claim for me. Do you remember helping her with that?" There was a pause on the recording. "Yeah, I remember. She asked me for help with the paperwork because I used to work for Social Security. What did she tell you about why she was filing?" "She said you had severe ADHD and needed treatment, but your dad wouldn't help pay for it." Ashley sighed on the recording. "I felt bad for you guys. That's why I helped." "Did she ask you anything specific about the process?" my daughter asked. Another pause. "Actually, yeah. She asked me whether your dad's involvement would trigger verification checks. She wanted to know if the government would contact both parents or just the custodial one." My daughter's voice stayed calm. "What else did she ask?" "She wanted to know how to structure the claim to avoid scrutiny, what kind of documentation they'd want, how thorough the investigations were, stuff like that." Ashley's voice changed a little, like she was realizing something as she talked. "She also asked me about how to keep a non-custodial parent from being involved in a kid's life." "What did you tell her?" "I didn't really give her advice on that part. I thought it was weird, to be honest, but she said she was just trying to understand her options." Ashley paused. Looking back now, it seems like she was researching 2 things at the same time. "What 2 things?" my daughter asked. "Disability fraud and parental alienation," Ashley said quietly. I didn't think about it then, but yeah. She had both sets of questions ready. It was the same conversation. The recording went on for another 20 minutes. My daughter asking careful questions, Ashley slowly realizing she'd been used to help commit a crime. By the end, Ashley was crying and apologizing. My daughter stopped the playback and looked at me. She planned it all at once. Not gradually, not over months. She sat down and designed the whole thing in probably a week. I felt sick. Our entire relationship was destroyed according to a plan. Not just a plan, my daughter said. A timeline, a strategy. She researched it like a business project. That night, my daughter filled out the forms to report fraud to the Office of Inspector General. She attached every document she had: bank statements, the recording of her mother's midnight confession, Ashley's testimony, school records showing she'd never received any ADHD accommodations or treatment. She put it all in a FedEx envelope and mailed it the next morning. Then she came back to my apartment and said, "Now we wait." We waited 3 days. Then my ex called me at 6 in the morning, screaming so loud I had to hold the phone away from my ear. "Investigators contacted me," she shouted. "They're asking about disability claims. They want 9 years of documentation." "Okay," I said. "Okay? That's all you have to say?" Her voice was frantic. "They want medical records, treatment plans, receipts, everything. You know I don't have any of that." "Then I don't know what to tell you," I said. "You have to help me," she said. "You have to tell them you knew about the treatment, that you approved it. Please." "I'm not going to lie to federal investigators," I said. "You did this, not me." There was a long silence. Then her voice changed completely. The panic disappeared, and something colder took its place. "I'll sign away all parental rights," she said. "I'll disappear forever. I'll move to another state and you'll never hear from me again. Just make her withdraw the report." I heard shuffling on my end. My daughter had walked into the room and was listening. I looked at her and she held out her hand for the phone. I gave it to her. "Mom," my daughter said, "I have one question for you." "Baby, please. When did you decide to destroy my relationship with Dad?" my daughter asked. Her voice was completely calm. "Was it before or after you realized how much money you could steal by using me?" Silence. "Answer the question," my daughter said. The line went dead. My ex had hung up. My daughter handed the phone back to me. She's not going to answer because there is no good answer. 2 days later, another FedEx envelope arrived at my apartment. This one was addressed to my daughter. Inside was a packet of papers and a handwritten note. The note was from my ex. "I'm sorry for the poor choices I made during a difficult time. I hope you can find it in your heart to forgive me. I've attached a full accounting of where the money went. I never meant to hurt you." My daughter read the note once and then dropped it on the table like it was contaminated. She picked up the accounting papers. They were printed spreadsheets, organized by year. Every withdrawal from the college fund, every disability payment received, where the money went. Vacation to the Bahamas in 2018, $4,200, new Lexus down payment, 2019, $8,500, kitchen renovation, 2020, $18,000, designer handbags, clothes from Nordstrom and Bloomingdale's, car payments, spa treatments, furniture. My daughter went through every page. Not a single expense was for her. Not one doctor visit, not one therapy session, not one educational resource, nothing. She got to the last page and stopped. Her finger traced a line item I had to lean over to see. Monthly payments to P.O. Box, 2847, $300. The payments started 3 years ago. They continued every single month until last month, right before my daughter had first shown up at my door. She was sending someone money, my daughter said, every month for 3 years. That's $10,800. Who? I asked. My daughter pulled out her phone and started searching. She found the P.O. Box registration database and entered the number. A name came up. Her mother's sister, someone my ex had claimed to be estranged from for over a decade. My daughter called the sister right then, put it on speaker. Hello? The sister's voice sounded wary. Hi, Aunt Kim, my daughter said. This is your niece. We need to talk about the P.O. Box. Silence on the other end. I know Mom's been paying you $300 a month for 3 years, my daughter continued. I need to know what for. I don't know what you're talking about, Kim said, but her voice was shaky. I have the bank records, my daughter said. I can either talk to you or I can talk to investigators. Your choice. A long pause, then Kim sighed. She paid me to store some boxes. She said not to ask questions and I didn't. Where are the boxes now? My daughter asked. In my storage unit, Kim said. Look, I didn't know she was doing anything illegal. She just said she needed to keep some stuff safe. I'm coming to get them, my daughter said. Today. We drove there that afternoon. 3 hours to Kim's town, another 20 minutes to the storage facility. Kim was waiting for us outside Unit 247. She looked nervous. I really didn't know, she said as she unlocked the unit. She just paid me to hold on to them. Inside the storage unit were 3 cardboard boxes, neatly labeled with dates. We loaded them into my car without opening them. Kim kept apologizing. My daughter didn't say anything to her. We drove back to my apartment and carried the boxes inside. My daughter sat on the floor and opened the first one. Papers. Hundreds and hundreds of pages of papers. She pulled out the first stack and started reading. Forged medical documents. Fake therapist letterheads with names of doctors who didn't exist. Diagnostic reports that were never filed with any actual medical office. Prescription records for medications that were never filled. She created an entire paper trail, my daughter said quietly, in case anyone ever checked. The second box had more of the same. Templates for creating fake doctor's notes. Printed emails from physicians who couldn't be traced because they weren't real. Sample letterheads from therapy practices. My ex had built a complete fictional medical history for a condition that didn't exist. But it was the third box that changed everything. My daughter pulled out a black leather journal, about 300 pages thick, the kind you buy at a bookstore, not a medical office. She opened it to the first page. It was dated 1 week after our divorce was finalized 9 years ago. She started reading out loud. Disability claim approved. Timing is perfect. Age 12 is old enough that a learning disability is believable, but young enough for years of payments ahead. He'll be so focused on fighting for custody, he won't notice the financial discrepancies. Need to make sure he stops trying before he gets suspicious. Her voice caught. She kept reading. Research needed. Parental alienation techniques. False DV claims. How to make him give up without it looking suspicious. My daughter looked up at me. Her hands were shaking. She planned all of this in one sitting. Before she even started alienating you, she knew exactly what she was going to do. She flipped through the journal. There were entries spanning 8 years. Detailed notes about lies she'd told, to whom, and why. Strategies for keeping me away. Notes about coaching my daughter to say negative things about me. One entry from 6 years ago read, "Stopped calling finally. Alienation phase complete. Now just maintenance mode. Monitor for any attempts to reconnect and shut down immediately." Maintenance mode. Like she was running a machine. My daughter found another entry from about 3 years ago. Guilt is an incredibly useful tool. He believes everything is his fault. That's the key. Make them internalize the blame so they stop fighting back. The more they think they failed, the less they'll question the narrative. She read it out loud, and then just sat there on my living room floor surrounded by these boxes. I didn't know what to say. What do you say when you find out your ex-wife documented your destruction like a science experiment? My daughter kept reading. Some entries were short, just notes. Others were detailed paragraphs analyzing what manipulation tactics worked and which ones didn't. Then she found an entry from 3 months before she'd knocked on my door that first night. She read it out loud. Daughter asking about childhood medical records for college health forms. Getting suspicious about why there's no documentation of ADHD diagnosis or treatment. Need to create more distance before she starts asking him questions and comparing stories. May need to consider exit strategy if she becomes too much of a liability. My daughter looked up at me. I asked her for my vaccine records for a college physical in September. She told me she'd lost them in a move. I didn't think anything of it at the time. She knew you were getting suspicious, I said. She was preparing to cut me off too, my daughter said. She sounded distant, like she was processing it as she spoke. Before I could figure it out and expose her, she went back to the beginning of the journal. The very first entry, dated 1 week after the divorce. She read it silently first, then out loud. Disability claim approved today, $470 monthly. Estimated total over 10 years, $56,400. Divorce settlement gave me the house and primary custody. Child support will be $1,200 month. If I can eliminate his involvement completely, I can also claim medical expenses he should cover but won't. Estimated additional $200, $300 month. Total income from this situation, approximately $1,800 month for the next 6 to 7 years minimum. My daughter's voice was shaking now. Timeline: Week 1, file false police reports to create paper trail. Week 2, tell his family he's dangerous. Week 3, begin missed visitations. Month 2, stop answering calls. Month 3, block all contact. Month 6, alienation should be complete enough to operate freely. She looked up at me. She mapped it out, like a business plan. Our entire relationship was destroyed in one sitting while she calculated profit margins. We sat there for a long time. The journal was still open on the floor between us. I kept thinking about all those missed birthdays, all those returned letters. Every single one had been planned in advance, scheduled, executed. The next morning, my daughter called the fraud investigators and requested a formal interview. She loaded all 3 boxes into her car and drove to the federal building downtown. I went with her. We sat in a small conference room with 2 investigators. One was a woman in her 50s with gray hair pulled back in a tight bun. The other was a younger guy, maybe 30, with a wedding ring and tired eyes. My daughter laid out everything: the journal, the forged documents, the recordings of her mother's confession, bank statements showing the fraudulent medical payments, all of it. The female investigator picked up the journal and read through several entries. Her expression didn't change, but I saw her jaw tighten. "You understand this will likely result in criminal charges," she said, looking up at my daughter. "Your mother could face significant prison time. Federal fraud charges are serious." My daughter didn't hesitate. She spent 8 years making me hate an innocent person so she could steal from me, from my father, and from the government. She planned it, she documented it like it was a game, and she was ready to abandon me the second I became a risk to her. I want her prosecuted fully. The investigator nodded and made a note on her legal pad. "We'll be in touch." It took 2 weeks. My daughter stayed at my apartment during that time. We didn't talk about it much. She was back on her laptop constantly, compiling more evidence, making sure she hadn't missed anything. Then one afternoon my phone rang. It was my sister. "Turn on the news," she said. "Channel 7. I turned on the TV. There was a news anchor standing in front of the hospital where my ex worked. The caption at the bottom of the screen read, "Local woman arrested on federal fraud charges." They showed footage of my ex being walked out of the hospital in handcuffs, security on either side of her, her co-workers watching from the windows. She kept her head down, but I could see her face was red. Whether from crying or humiliation, I couldn't tell. The anchor was explaining the charges: disability fraud, identity theft, filing false claims with the federal government. They estimated the total amount at over $78,000 when you included everything: the government benefits, the fraudulent medical payments from me, the money she'd manipulated from her own mother. My daughter was standing in the doorway watching the TV. Her face showed nothing. That evening, she sat down at my kitchen table with the journal one more time. She flipped to the very last page, something she hadn't shown me before. "There's one more thing," she said. She turned the journal around so I could read it. The entry was dated about a year ago. The title at the top read, "Exit Strategy." I read through it. My ex had written out detailed instructions for what to do if the fraud was ever discovered, or if my daughter became a liability. Step 1, drain all remaining accounts immediately. Step 2, list the house and sell below market value for quick sale. Step 3, purchase used car with cash, untraceable. Step 4, move to Montana or Wyoming, states with low population and weak interstate enforcement. Step 5, cut all contact with daughter permanently. Step 6, establish new identity if necessary. At the bottom, there was a handwritten note. "If it comes down to it, disappear completely. She'll be fine. She's 19 and can handle herself. Better to cut losses than risk prison." I looked up at my daughter. She was staring at the page. "She was ready to abandon you," I said quietly. "The second I stopped being useful and started being dangerous," my daughter said. "Just like she made you abandon me. Except I didn't do anything wrong. I was just her kid asking normal questions." She closed the journal and pushed it across the table toward me. "I'm testifying at the trial," she said. "I'm going to provide every document, every recording, every piece of evidence. I'm going to make sure everyone knows exactly what she did and why." "You sure?" I asked. "This is going to be public. People are going to know everything." She nodded. "I'm sure. She didn't make mistakes. She made choices. She documented them like she was proud of them. And now, she's going to face exactly what's coming." She picked up the journal one last time and opened it to the cover. In the top right corner, in my ex-wife's handwriting, were 2 words I hadn't noticed before: Project Survival. My daughter set it down and looked at me. "It was never about surviving, it was about winning, and she lost."